Magandang araw, Sir Wilbur po, at your service. Narito ang ETUlay upang gabayan ka sa inyong pag-aaral upang lubos na maunawaan ang iba't ibang paksa o subject. Ang ETUlay ay isang free online tutorial class na pinangungunahan ng DepEd Educational Technology Unit sa pamumuno ni Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua. Ang programang ito ay hindi lamang para sa mga bata, kundi ito rin ay magsisilbing gabay sa mga magulang at mga guro kung paano nila ituturo o gagabayan sa bawat asignatura ang kanilang mga anak o mga estudyante. Sa kasalukuyan, ang self-learning module mula sa rehiyon ng Calabarzon at kilala sa tawag na pivot ang ginagamit sa ating ETUlay online class. Kaya ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Ihanda na ang inyong mga ballpen o lapis, papel o kwaderno at samahan kaming itulay ang pagkatuto para sa bawat batang Pilipino. Sama-sama tayong magtutulungan para malampasan ang mga hamon sa panahong ito. Halina't matuto kasama ang inyong online tutor sa oras na ito.
Yes, hello po. Good afternoon. It's another statistics and probability day, no? So, it's every 4:40 I'm going to see everyone dito po sa ating channel and I'm happy to see, ayan, nandito na yung ating mga kasama, si Ibrahim. Hello, good afternoon. Si Sir Ariel, nandiyan na din. So, last time we discussed about identifying parameters of for testing in given real life problems. Yan. Ito yung diniscuss natin last time. Yan. Pero today, we're going to try to formulate null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. So, ito yung target natin this day na medyo nabitin kasi tayo last week sa discussion natin, no? Pero ngayon, full force na ulit yung discussion natin on formulating hypothesis. Yan. Ngayon, sa formulating hypothesis, ano yung importanteng malaman natin? Importanteng malaman natin, ano ba yung null hypothesis at ano ba yung alternative hypothesis? When we talk about null hypothesis, yan. Null hypothesis, it states that there is no difference. Actually, there is no significant difference. Yan. So, pag sinabi natin no significant difference, ibig sabihin, may difference, pwedeng merong difference, pero ang tanong, ganun ba ka-importante yung difference niya? Yan. Okay. It's a matter of magbabago ba yung decision natin through this particular result. Yun yung sa null hypothesis. But basically, pag null, hindi magbabago. Pero there's another hypothesis which we call alternative hypothesis. When we talk about alternative hypothesis, in this case, it states that the population parameter has some statistical significance. Yan. So, ibig sabihin, statistical significance. Ibig sabihin, teacher, ibig sabihin may difference. Exactly. May difference at yung difference niya ay very significant para sa magiging decision natin. Pwedeng smaller, greater, or different with the hypothesized value. Yun yung null hypothesis natin. Parang ganito lang yan eh. Halimbawa, nag-identify kayo, no? Sinabi, may nabasa kayong statement na ang isang estudyante, it will take him 240 minutes to finish accomplishing her task or her homework with the use of internet, sabi. Pero napag-isip ka bilang isang estudyante, no? Napag-isip ka, totoo nga ba na 240 minutes nga ba? Baka naman greater. Baka naman higher. Or baka naman iba lang, hindi lang equal sa 240 minutes. Kapag nagkaroon ka na ng ganong idea, it's an avenue for us to conduct hypothesis testing. Ganun pala yung teacher. Yes, kasi yun yung common understanding ng lahat. Nagkaroon ka ng sudden thinking about it na parang sudden doubt na baka hindi naman totoo. Bakit parang sa amin hindi naman ganon? Okay. That's why when we talk about alternative hypothesis, parang ito yung real-time effect. Ayan, ito yung sinasabi natin. Kapag pinag-uusapan natin si null hypothesis, it's actually represented by H sub 0. Anong ibig sabihin? There is no observed effect. Okay, anong ibig sabihin nito, teacher? Halimbawa, nag-conduct ka ng hypothesis testing. Tapos, na-found out mo, and of course, you applied statistical procedure, yung collecting data, organizing, analyzing, yan yung parang statistics 101 natin, di ba? Kapag nag-conduct ka ng statistical treatment together with the null hypothesis, ibig sabihin, tinitingnan mo, may pagbabago ba siya dun sa nasabi? Dun sa sinabi na 240 minutes, halimbawa, may pagbabago ba siya dun? Kung walang pagbabago, ibig sabihin kung ano yung 240 minutes yung nabasa mo at nung nag-conduct ka ng sarili mong experiment with your friends, na-found out mo na, oo nga, tama siya, 240 minutes. Walang nagbago dun sa nalaman mo at dun sa naging resulta ng experiment mo. Then, we actually failed to reject the null hypothesis. Hindi natin siya mare-reject. Bakit? Kasi nga, tama siya eh. Yan. The null hypothesis is often an initial claim. Yan. Pag sinabi nating initial claim, yan yung nakalagay dun sa pinaka-konteksto. Yan yung nakalagay, yan yung nabasa mo. Yan yung nalaman mo. Yan yung nakalagay dun sa statement na kung saan itatry siya na ano, na i-direct or i-redirect ni alternative hypothesis. That's why when we talk about alternative hypothesis, it means that there is an observed effect. Teacher, dito may epekto. Ibig sabihin, nung nag-conduct ka ng sarili mong hypothesis testing, nalaman mo na, hindi 240 minutes, higher pa dyan sa 240 minutes. Yan. Pag kinompare mo lang yung mean nila, that's mere comparison. Pero kung ang gusto mong tingnan is yung significant difference nung naging resulta mo, then that is not just a mere comparison, pero dun napapasok yung hypothesis testing. Ang galing, no? Okay, let's continue. The alternative hypothesis is what you might believe to be true. Okay? Because this is your assumption. Okay, teacher, nanggaling yan sa'yo. Kumbaga in principle, galing siya sa'yo or galing siya sa isang librarian na naisip niya. Hindi. O kaya sa isang registrar na naisip niya. Yung enrollment last year, parang mas mataas ngayon. Ngayon, ang tanong, significant ba yung taas niya? Nakatulong ba dun sa school natin yung taas niya? Yun yung next na ano natin, no, na point natin. Or, we hope to be true. Yan. So teacher, parang yung null hypothesis, opposite niya si alternative hypothesis. That's actually the deal, no? Okay, so let's continue. How do we state the null and alternative hypothesis correctly? Kasi pwede naman natin siyang state, no? Kaya lang sana yung proper way ng pag-state. Yun yung i-goal na matapos natin ngayon. Ano yung una? Identify the parameter in a given problem. Kailangan alam mo yung parameter. Ano ba yung mga parameter? Is it the mean, the median, the mode? Or is it the standard deviation, the variance, the mean absolute deviation, or the range? Yan, lahat yan. Yung mga measures of central tendencies, measures of variation, those are parameter. Kapag nanggaling siya sa population. Okay. The next thing, identify the claim to be tested that may show up in a null or alternative hypothesis. Ano yung pwedeng mangyari? Halimbawa nga, kanina, no? Sabi, 240 minutes that it will take a student to finish the task or the task on homework with the use of internet. 240 minutes ang claim. Then that would be the null. Ano yung alternative? Sabi nung isa, baka hindi 240 minutes. Baka naman higher. That's the alternative. So, yun yung mga lalabas dun sa isang problem para makita nyo, para ma-identify natin yung correct parameter. Next, we're going to translate the claim into mathematical symbols or notations. Normally, the things that will transpire in our discussion sa hypothesis ay yung equal sign, yung not equal to, yung less than, yung greater than or equal to, at yung less than or equal to. Pero aalamin natin, ano lang ba yung pwede natin gamitin para sa null hypothesis at ano lang ba yung pwede natin gamitin para sa alternative hypothesis. Okay, kasi bago tayo, sabi nga nila, di ba, bago tayo practice nung skill, kailangan na master muna natin at naintindihang mabuti yung skill. Sa punto na to, tinatry muna nating intindihin paano ba mag-hypothesize. Yan. Let's take a look at the given. Good afternoon po. Ayan. Let's take a look at the given items. Okay. Now, ayan. The average weight of all grade 11 students in senior high school is 169 centimeters. Sabi dyan, Is this claim true? Okay. Ngayon, hindi naman natin muna sasagutin yung is this claim true. Doon muna tayo sa part ng paggawa ng null hypothesis at alternative hypothesis. Babalikan ko lang, no? When we talk about null hypothesis, ayan, formulate first the null hypothesis, then alternative hypothesis, or actually either way, based on 3 different ways in writing the hypothesis, as illustrated below. Teacher, wala. Okay, i-illustrate natin. Ang null hypothesis, since there's no difference, babalikan ko lang, no observed effect or no difference. Sabi kanina, no significant difference. So, kung walang difference dun sa isang mean, sa mean ng isa, kung wala siyang significant difference, then the null hypothesis make use of the symbol equal, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. Basta may equal to, meaning there's a chance that it will be the same as the given, then that would call for the null hypothesis. On the other hand, the alternative hypothesis would be the complement of the null. What would that be? That means if this is equal to, ito ay not equal to. Kung ito ay greater than or equal to, ito ay less than. Walang equal to, ang alternative hypothesis ay walang equal kasi hindi siya nag-a-agree na pareho nung mean ng una yung magiging resulta niya. Kaya nga nagkaroon siya ng assumption na baka hindi, no? Baka hindi siya pareho. Baka mas maliit siya or baka mas malaki siya. Ito yung mga symbols na ginagamit natin sa alternative hypothesis at ito yung mga symbols na ginagamit natin sa null hypothesis. O, di ba? Napaka-interesting talaga ng hypothesis testing at talagang kailangan malaman natin siya kasi dito magsisimula ang lahat. Ngayon, ano kaya ang pwede nating maging, okay, H sub 0, that's the null hypothesis. Ang alternative naman natin is H sub A, yan. Ano kaya ang pwede nating magiging, anong tawag dito? Null hypothesis dito. Sige, medyo mahaba-haba yan, teacher, ha? Yung mga sagot natin. Sige, si teacher na ang magsusulat, no? Okay, what we can actually do here, ayan, paano yan? Kung walang difference, ibig sabihin, sabi niya naman the average rate of all grade 11 students in senior high school is 169. So, ang average rate ay eksaktong 169. So, ibig sabihin, the average, ano ko na lang ha, weight of grade 11 students in senior high school is 169. Walang difference sa claim. Pero sa alternative hypothesis, opposite niya. Kung ito equal sa 169, yung average. So, anong parameter natin dito? Ang parameter natin ay average. Gets ko na, teacher. So, since ang parameter natin ay average, pwede natin siyang i-represent na mean is equal to 169 because mean is an average. Oh, okay. Ano yung alternative? Alternative would be the opposite. So, kung ito ay equal sa 169, ano kaya ang pwede nating maging claim ng alternative? Yan. So, pwede nating sabihin, hindi naman nakalagay kung higher or lower. So, pwede nating sabihin the average weight of grade 11 students is not 169. Teacher, pwede ba ko bang sabihin is not equal to 169? Pwede naman. Salagay din natin dito is equal to 169. Okay lang din. Therefore, if we are going to represent a symbol, since it's average, it's mean, then we represent the mean as the mu, which is not equal to 169. Then we can relate the null hypothesis as such in words and in symbol. And the alternative hypothesis, pwede natin siyang ilagay ng ganito, naka-word at naka-symbol. Okay, teacher. Gets ko na. Ngayon, next, the average price per square meter of residential lot in exclusive subdivision is above 15,000. Okay, teacher, wait lang. Sabi above 15,000. Average ulit. So, ang parameter natin ay average, meaning we represent this with mu. Okay, teacher. Gets ko na, nakukuha ko na. A buyer wants to test the agent's claim. So, gagawa siya ng null hypothesis at alternative hypothesis. Okay. Take note that the null hypothesis only uses the symbol equal, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. But kung titingnan natin to, the average price per square meter of residential lot in exclusive subdivision is above 15,000. That means this would represent that the average is above 15,000. Teacher, ang gulo. Okay, wait lang. Ayusin natin yan. 15,000. Oh, paano nangyari yun, teacher? Walang equal to. Then, this will not be your null hypothesis. Eh, ano yan, teacher? Yan ang ating alternative hypothesis. Kasi, klaro naman sa atin na kapag null hypothesis, walang significant difference. Therefore, paano natin i-represent si null hypothesis? Pwedeng yung complement nito. So, pwedeng this is less than or equal to 15,000. Pero, since nag-drawing na tayo ng rejection region, pwede din na ang mean ay equal to 15,000. Okay lang yan because this will identify the rejection region anyway. Mapag-uusapan natin yan sa susunod or ngayong araw, sana matapos natin, no? So yan. So naintindihan natin. Teacher, so i-represent ko pala yung symbolic representation ng parameter. Yes. Tapos i-identify ko na saan ba to? Saan ba to magfo-fall? Wala siyang equal to. So hindi siya pwedeng mag-fall. Saan? Sa null hypothesis ko. Magfo-fall siya sa alternative hypothesis natin. From there, makukuha na natin yung null. Okay, teacher. Okay, now let's look at another problem. Yan. Okay, wait lang, liitan ni teacher. Babasahin ko muna din, liliitan ko. Sige, liitan na natin ng konti kasi wala na tayong space, no? Ayan. Dito ko na lang ilalagay sa gilid. Ayan. Holistic Fitness Center claims that their members reduce an average of 13. Okay. So, nagre-reduce daw ng ilan? 13 pounds. Okay. After joining the center, an independent agency wanted to check this claim, took 40 members, and found that they reduced an average of 12 pounds with a standard deviation of 4 pounds. Determine the null and the alternative hypothesis. Ang dami namang sinabi, teacher. Kailangan alam nyo kung paano nyo i-identify ang parameter. Dito sa una, sinabi niya, ang claim daw ng fitness center claims that their member reduced an average of 13 pounds. Remember, when we talk about null hypothesis, ang null hypothesis ay the initial claim. Normally, the initial claim. In this case, will this be part of the normally? Yan yun eh. Next, an independent agency wanted to check this claim, took sample of 40 members. Pag nag-take ka ng sample ng 40 members, then that would not speak of the population anymore. Kasi naging particular ka na, kumuha ka ng 40 samples. So, ibig sabihin, this talks about the sample, not anymore the population. Therefore, ang parameter natin ay yung 13 pounds. Average na 13 pounds. Pero sabi nire-reduce, o di less than. The mean is reduced by 13, less than 13. Okay. Sige, teacher, gets ko na yung part na yan. So, therefore, wala na namang equal to, then our null hypothesis and our alternative hypothesis can be crafted. Saan to magfo-fall? Sa alternative. The mean is less than 13. Our null will be the mean is greater than or equal to 13 or the mean is greater than or equal to 13. So, pareho lang, teacher. Equal to 13. Paano yung teacher magkaiba? Huwag kayong mag-alala kasi later on, pag-uusapan naman natin yung rejection region. So, either way, yung the mean of equal to 13, nag-identify siya na walang difference. Okay. Yan. Sige, diretso pa tayo. Sige pa nga, teacher, more examples para mas maintindihan namin. Okay, let's have our next example. The treasurer of the municipality claims that the average worth of families in the municipality is at least, the average net worth of families in the municipality is at least 730,000. A random sample of 50 families from this area produce a mean net worth of 860,000. Teacher, dalawa yung mean. Oh, wait, there's more. With standard deviation of 65,000, what are the null and alternative hypothesis? Tanong muna, ano sa palagay nyo ang parameter natin? Yan. Yung mean ba na at least 730,000 or yung net worth na 860,000? Kasi dalawa eh. Yan, no? Hindi natin maintindihan. Alin ba dyan? Yun ang tanong. O, yun din yung tanong ko. Alin sa palagay nyo dyan? Yan. Ayan, magandang hapon kay. Yan, ang una-una natin kasama si Ibrahim Alon, no? Magandang hapon. Yan, then si Ariel, Blessy. Yan, ano kaya, pakitulungan naman ako, ano kaya yung magiging average natin dito? Yan. Okay, ang magiging mean natin dito is yung first claim. Ano yung claim ng treasurer of a municipality? Ang claim niya is that the average net worth of families in the municipality is what? At least 7,300. Pag gumamit tayo ng word na at least, so yan yung parameter natin. Okay, gets ko na, teacher. Pag gumamit tayo ng word na at least, ibig sabihin, pwede si 7,300. So gagamit tayo ng, kung i-represent natin to, the mean is at least the smallest amount is 730,000, meaning it's 730,000 or more. Okay, teacher. Yung null hypothesis, yung claim na nakita natin is what? Contains an equal to symbol. If it contains an equal to symbol, then what will be our null hypothesis? Our null hypothesis will be the mean is greater than or equal to 730,000. Anong alternative natin? Opposite niya. At wala yung equal, take note. So the mean is less than 730,000. Ayan. Sana nagkakaroon ng linaw, ha? merong comment, no? Oo nga, no? Ang laki kasi ng network. Pero families naman yan. Baka naman per year yan. Pero kahit na, no, malaki pa rin. Okay lang yan. Okay. So, let's continue. Last na item na natin to, ha, para maka-continue tayo with other activities din. Yan. Okay. Sige. Eto na lang. Try nating mag-practice. A school principal claims that the grade 11 student in her school have a mean score of 92. If this is the case, ano kaya ang ating parameter? Teacher, mean score. Tama. Mean. Yan. So, ang mean, ang symbol niyan ay mu. Okay. Ano yung claim niya? Na ang mean score is 92. Anong null hypothesis natin? Sige nga, kung sinong makakatulong sa atin dito. Anong pwede nating null hypothesis dyan? Sumagot pala si Juanito kanina, no? Very good. Pwede ring equal yun, Pwedeng equal. Walang ano yun, walang kaso. Or, sige, mean is equal to 730,000. Yan. Kasi magkakalaban na naman dyan sa rejection region bago tayo magdesisyon. So, anong null hypothesis natin? Ang null hypothesis natin is 92, no? So, walang difference. So, yung mean ay 92. Anong alternative? Wala nang sinabi. So, pwedeng mataas, pwedeng mababa. So, the mean is not equal to 92. Yun ang pwede nating maging alternative. Gets ko na, teacher. Pag may direction, saka lang pala magle-less than. Yes. Pag gumamit kayo ng greater than at less than, saka lang tayo magkakaroon din ng inequality symbol na greater than at less than. Yan yung sumagot si, Miss Bonvar. Ang sabi ni Miss Bonvar, mean is not 92. Ang galing Okay, next. A certain product produced by a manufacturing company is supposed to weigh at least 12 pounds. So, pag sinabi natin at least 12 pounds, identify muna natin, ano yung parameter? Weight. Ano yung weight? Average weight. Okay. Ano yung claim niya? Weight is at least 12 pounds. So, gawin natin yan. Pag sinabi natin at least 12 pounds, meaning the least amount is 12 pounds, then the mean is, pag sinabing least is 12, pwedeng 12 and higher, di ba? So, greater than or equal to 12. Yan yung claim niya. Therefore, ano ang ating null hypothesis at ano ang ating alternative? Null po muna. Ano yung null? The mean is, okay, tingnan nga natin. Ayan, the mean is greater than or equal to 12 kasi may or equal to. Then, ano yung ating alternative? Opposite niya. The mean is less than 12 pounds. Ganun pala yung teacher. Yes, ganun lang naman siya. Okay. So, we're not going to finish this anymore kasi alam ko nagigets na natin, no? So, ibig sabihin, teacher, kapag walang or equal to, doon sa ating activity, doon sa ating parameter na nakiklaim, ibig sabihin, pwede pala siyang mag-fall sa alternative. Oo, kasi hindi tayo pwedeng magkaroon ng walang difference sa ating null hypothesis. Kailangan ang null hypothesis, may difference sa ating null hypothesis. Sa null hypothesis natin, kailangan may statement ng equal or equal to. Okay. Gets ko yun, teacher. Okay. Let's go for the second one. Teacher, ang dami pala natin ngayon. Oo, nag-prepare tayo ngayon kasi nga may backlog tayo last week, di ba? Identifying the test statistics involved. Ayan. Kung naaalala nyo, ayan, appropriate test statistics. Okay. Kung naaalala nyo, last time, yan, direkta na ako yan. Yung mga definition of terms na pinag-usapan natin, yan. Okay, wait lang. Parang hindi ito yun. Ayan. So, kung naaalala nyo yung sa test statistics natin, yung appropriate test statistics na pinag-uusapan natin, yan naman siya. Okay, blank is the mean of the samples, values, or collected. Ano yung blank? Review muna pala tayo. Okay, sige, mag-review tayo. Blank is the mean. Ano kaya yan, teacher? Blank is the mean of the sample values or yan ay average. Or mean, dapat mean yan eh. Blank is the mean of all the values in the population. If the sample is randomly selected, size is large, then the sample mean would be... Okay, sige, ulitin natin Definition of terms muna tayo kasi kailangan i-define natin yung terms. Blank is the mean of the sample values collected. Sample mean. Okay, teacher. Kasi mean siya ng sample. Yan. The mean of all the values in the population. O anong tawag naman natin doon? Population mean. Galing nyo Okay. So, wait lang, teacher. Ibig po bang sabihin, teacher, pag sinabi natin is the mean of the sample values collected, anong symbol niyan? Bakit ito sample mean, ito population mean? Kasi galing yung data nyo from the population. Ito naman, galing yung data natin from the sample. What's the difference in terms of the symbol? Yan. Gusto kong malaman, teacher. Kapag mean ng sample, normally, nire-represent natin yan as X bar. Okay. Gets ko na, teacher. Population mean naman, yung ginagamit natin kanina. Ano yung population mean natin? Ito yung mu. Yan. Okay. Teacher, yan pala yon. Next. Okay. Blank is a parameter which is a measure of variability. Pag sinabi nating measures of variability, apat yan. Ano yun? Range, standard deviation, variance, mean absolute deviation. Pero seldom natin gamitin yung mean absolute deviation, no? Pero sabi, with fixed value calculated from every individual in the population, then this is what we call population standard deviation. Okay, teacher. Kasi galing siya sa population. Tapos, ito naman is a statistic. Tignan nyo parameter to because, remember, ang flow ng data natin is when we get the data from the population, the data that we get, the characteristic of data that we get is actually the numerical characteristic of data. Yun yung mga population standard deviation. Yan ay tinatawag na parameter. Pero pag galing siya sa sample, ang tawag natin dito ay statistic. Statistic, which means this measure of variability is calculated for only some of the individuals in a population. Pero anong tawag natin doon? Tawag natin doon ay sample. Population yung kanina, teacher Oo nga. Sample. Yan, kasi statistic siya. Sample, standard deviation. Okay. Ano nga bang ginagawa ni standard deviation? Ina-identify niya kung gaano kalayo ang mga dataset natin from the mean. Naalala ko na, teacher. Ngayon, ano yung symbol ni population standard deviation? When we talk about population standard deviation, ito yung sigma. Ay, okay. Alam ko yan, teacher. Yan, kasi ginagamit nyo na yan last time, no? Now, ano naman yung sa sample standard deviation? A lowercase s. Yan ang ginagamit natin for sample standard deviation. Pag nakita nyo yan, uy, standard deviation yan ng sample. Pag nakita nyo to, uy, standard deviation yan ng population. Okay, next. Blank indicates how the population data points are spread out. Gaano daw kalawak yung tinatakbo ng data natin kasi ito yung squared deviation. Ito naman yung tawag natin na population variance. Mas ginagamit si standard deviation kasi pareho siya ng unit ng ating data. Itong unit na to ay naka-squared kasi. So, yan yung symbol ng population variance. Kasi si standard deviation ay sigma squared naman si variance. Ngayon, okay. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bonvaro. Sabi niya, sigma and sigma squared. Yes, you have to be familiar with the terms. Kasi bakit natin kailangan maging familiar sa terms? Kasi ito yung tutulong sa atin later on. Okay, population variance is known. Ano kayang klaseng test? Ayan, naka-identify na. Bakit z-test ang ginamit, teacher? Okay, tingnan natin I-observe natin. Known si population variance. Ibig sabihin, known din si standard deviation. Kasi square root lang naman natin yan si variance. Population is normally distributed. Ang number ng sample, kung natatandaan nyo, kapag ang number ng sample nyo greater than or equal to 30 at ang population standard deviation is known, automatic ang gagamitin natin ay z-test. Okay, teacher. Next. Kapag naman ang population variance is unknown, that means the population standard deviation is unknown. Automatic yun. Kasi nga, square root niya lang yan, makukuha na natin yung population standard deviation. Walang variance. Di wala rin siya. Pero, ang population, ang sample size natin ay less than 30 at ang sample standard deviation ay known, therefore, we can use t-test. Okay. Now, mayroong existence ni central limit theorem. Sinasabi ni central limit theorem, kahit hindi normal or normal. Ayan, sabi niya, a population may not be normally distributed pero close to a normal distribution habang dumadami yung sample size. Ibig sabihin, sinasabi niya na kapag by central limit theorem, kahit hindi normal ang distribution at ang n is less than 30 or considered sufficiently large, meaning greater than that, at ang population standard deviation is unknown or known, pwedeng known or unknown, use z-test by replacing the population standard deviation by the sample standard deviation. Ibig sabihin, z-test ang gagamitin natin pag ang population is sufficiently enough. Yan. Okay. Or considered sufficiently large. Dapat pala greater than or equal to to. Pakipalitan na lang. Yan. Ngayon, teacher, sige, gawan nga natin siya, teacher, ng table. O gawan natin siya ng table. Sinasabi lang dito na when the value of sample size, kasi ang ina-identify natin ano ang tamang test statistic ang gagamitin ko? Mag-z-test ba ako or magti-t-test ako? Yun yung gusto nating alamin. Kapag ang sample size, n is sample size, no, ay greater than or equal to 30, dalawang sitwasyon ang pwedeng mangyari. Pwedeng the standard deviation is unknown or the standard deviation is known. Yan. Kapag naman ang sample size ay less than 30, okay, less than 30, at ang standard deviation ay pwedeng known at pwedeng unknown. So, 4 na sitwasyon pala ang pwedeng mangyari, teacher. Exactly. Ang tanong, ano ang gagawin natin? Ano ang gagamitin natin? Drawing tayo, ha? When the value of sample size n, is greater than 30, at, okay, iba namang kulay, teacher. Blue na tayo. Okay, greater than 30, at the same time, ang standard deviation ay known. Ano ang gagamitin nating test statistic? Z-test or t-test? Yan. Use, anong sabi? Uy, ang galing Sabi ni Juanito, Z-test, teacher. And that's correct. That's Z-test. Paano naman kung ang sample size ay greater than 30? Pero unknown ang standard deviation at unknown ang standard deviation ni population pero known ang standard deviation ni sample. Anong test statistic kaya ang gagamitin natin? Yan. Sige, pag-isipan nating mabuti. Ano kaya? Ito pa rin ay Z-test. Tama. Z-test pa rin yan. Bakit? Bakit, teacher? Remember, it's sufficiently large. Ito yung dinedefine ni central limit theorem. Okay, gets ko na, teacher. So basta malaki yung ating sufficiently large yung ating sample size, unknown si standard deviation ng population pero known si standard deviation ng sample, Z-test pa rin ako. Correct. Okay. Paano naman kung nasa kabilang side tayo? Okay. Sabi dito, ang sample size ni N ay less than 30. Pero si standard deviation ni sample ay known. Alam pala natin. So, anong gagamitin natin? Ang pwede natin gamitin dito ay t-test pa din. Remember, basta known si standard deviation or sufficiently large ang ating sample, ang gagamitin pa rin natin ay z-test. Yan. Ganun pala yung teacher. Yes. So, teacher, kailan lang natin gagamitin si t-test? Si t-test gagamitin natin kapag mababa ang sample, unknown si standard deviation ni population, then that's the time we are going to use the t-test. Okay, teacher. Gets ko na. Nakakalito lang siya, no? Pero sabi kasi dun sa, if you're going to remember the definition, it's either if the population is sufficiently large or the standard deviation is unknown. Hindi niya sinabing and. It's an or. So, ibig sabihin, either of the two, we can use the z-statistic. Yon. Or the z-test. Yan. Kailan naman yung t-test? Kapag mababa at unknown si standard deviation. Pero kapag mataas, pwede natin pa rin gamitin si z-test dahil present pa rin naman si standard deviation. Bakit? Sino ang nagde-define nun, teacher? By central limit theorem. Yon. Okay. So, gets ko na, teacher. Ngayon, identify natin ano kaya yung appropriate test statistics dito. Pero kailangan i-analyze natin mabuti yung problem natin. Sige, ito yung problem natin. Analyze natin mabuti itong problem na to. Okay. Sige, teacher. Pagtulungan natin yan. A manufacturer claimed that the average life of batteries used in their electronic games is 150 hours. So when we talk about 150, okay, ito yung initial claim yan. The manufacturer claimed that the average life of batteries used in electronics is 150 hours. Average to. So ito ay mean. Okay. So anong binigay? Binigay si mean ay 50. Okay. Tapos may kasunod, teacher. It is known that the standard deviation of this type of battery is 20 hours. Uy, binigay yung type daw ng battery na yon base dun sa 150 hours. Ang standard deviation niya ay 20. Ano yun? Standard deviation ba yan ng population or ng sample? Definitely ng population. Yan. Okay, teacher, parang nagkakaroon na ng linaw. So ano pa? Next, a consumer wished to test the manufacturer's claim and accordingly tested 100 electronic games. So, sabi, nag-test daw siya ng 100 electronic games using the battery. So, ano tong 100? Yan ay sample size, teacher. Okay. Okay. It was found out that the mean is equal to 144. May isa na namang mean, teacher. Ito naman yung mean kasi na-found out niya eh. So, ito yung mean ng 100 samples. So, meaning, ito yung mean ng sample. 144. Tingnan natin sa table. Meron ba siyang standard deviation ng population? Check. Ay, blue gamitin ko para mas distinct, teacher. Ibang color. Okay. Population standard deviation. Check. Teacher, Sufficiently high ba ang kanyang sample size? 100. Oo, greater than 30, greater than or equal to 30 yun, pasok. So, anong gagamitin natin? Z-test or t-test? Yan, sa problem na to, tandaan natin, meron tayong standard deviation. Balikan ko yung table. Ay, yung chart. So meron ako nito, known, at ito ay sufficiently high. Check tong dalawa. So ano yan? Tama, z-test teacher ang gagamitin. Evidently, z-test talaga ang gagamitin natin dyan. Very good. Kaya nga ang lesson natin ngayon ay identifying the appropriate parameter. Bakit hindi binigla yung lesson nyo na ibinigay na lahat? Hindi pwede kasi nga kailangan namnamin natin yung bawat lesson sa start. Kasi pag hindi nyo siya naintindihan, magulo talaga siya in the end, di ba? Ngayon naiintindihan niyo na, feeling ko ang galing niyo na. Okay, sige, next tayo. An English teacher wanted to test whether the mean reading speed of student is 550 words per minute. Anong parameter natin? Mean. Ng ano? Anong mean? 550 words per minute. So, sulat na agad natin yan. Yan yung claim. So, that's the mean, teacher. 550. Correct. Okay, next, a sample of 12 students. Ano yung 12? That's the N, 12. The sample size na teacher, yes. Ano naman yung sample mean? Sinabi na pala, revealed a sample mean. Hindi na tayo mag-iisip. Sample mean niya daw ay 540. So, sample mean ay 540. Kailangan lang, kabisado nyo yung symbol. Pag hindi kabisado yung symbol, mahihirapan kayo dyan. Okay, words with a standard deviation. So, a sample of 12 students revealed a sample mean of 540 words per minute with a standard deviation of 5 words per minute. Ang 5 words per minute ay naka-anchor dun sa 12 students. So, ito ay sample standard deviation, which is 5. Okay, teacher. At 0.05 level of significance. Saan natin yan gagamitin, teacher? Huwag kayong mag-alala later on. Chunk by chunk muna tayo. Nag-identify muna tayo ng appropriate test statistics. Ano sa palagay nyo ang gagamitin natin? Z-test or t-test? Yan. Z-test or t-test? Ang gagamitin natin dito, take note, anong binigay? Una, meron bang standard deviation? Una, yung sample size ay maliit. Oops! Less than 30. Pangalawa, may standard deviation ba ng population? Wala din. Therefore, anong gagamitin natin? T-test or Z-test? Sa kaso na to, balikan natin, no? Sabi, less than 30 at unknown si X. Unknown si standard deviation ng population. Babalikan ko yung table ko. Less than 30, pasok. Unknown, known or known? Unknown. Anong gagamitin ko? T-test. Very good. Yan. T-test. Once na marunong na kayong mag-identify ng test statistics, madali na ang mga susunod. Kasi computation na yan. Kasi math teacher ako, no? Gusto ko mag-compute. Medyo ito talagang challenge ituro tong mga to, no? I understand kung mahihirapan kayo at the beginning. Last item na kasi 5:24 na yun, no? Late kasi teacher. Yan. A study was conducted to look at the average time students exercise. Okay. So, anong parameter? Average. Anong gagamitin kong symbol? Mu sa population. A researcher claimed that in average, students exercise less than 15 hours. Okay. Ang claim niya, ang estudyante daw ay nag-exercise ng less than 15 hours. Tama ba? Paano yan, teacher? Hindi equal. Okay lang yan, kahit hindi equal. Students exercise less than 15 hours per month. Okay, per month daw. In a random sample size of n equals 115. Okay. It was found that the mean time students exercise is 11.3 hours per month with standard deviation of 6.43 hours per month. Okay, ano yung mga given, teacher? Sabi, ang mean is less than 15. Sulat lang natin yan. Okay lang yan. In a random sample size of n equals 115, so n is equal to 115, sample size yan, it was found that the mean time the students exercise, sa 150 na daw yan, nalaman niya na ang mean ay 11.3. So, nakalagay na, mean ay 11. Ba, pinadali nito ang trabaho natin. Bakit? Kasi nilagay na niya. 6.43. Tingnan natin, anong binigay? Uy, pasok si N, greater than 30. Walang standard deviation ni population, pero may standard deviation ni sample naman. Balikan natin yung table kanina. Pasok siya dito, check. Burahin ko lang yan para hindi kayo malito. Okay, wala na siya. Okay, pasok dyan kasi greater than 30 dahil 150 ang sample size natin di ba? Pero unknown si population standard deviation. Pero known si sample standard deviation. Anong gagamitin natin? Ay, may sagot na. Ang dami. Sorry. Z-test. Okay. Z-test, teacher. Very good. Gusto niyo pa ba? Isa na lang? Kasi hindi ko naman na masisimulan yung next lesson natin. Medyo mahaba-haba yung next lesson natin. Identifying the appropriate rejection region. Pero sagutan na lang natin to. It is claimed that the average age working of students in certain universities is 35. Nung nakita ko tong table na to dun sa pivot, ito yung pinakamadaling way para mag-identify kayo ano yung appropriate test statistic na gagamitin nyo. Okay, subukan natin. Sabi dito, in a certain university, it is claimed that the average age of working students in a certain university is 35. Average age is 35, wala naman nakalagay kung ano. A researcher selected a random sample of 25. Kung 25 siya, saan siya magfo-fall? Greater than or equal to 30. First column, second column. Second column. Okay. The computation of their ages resulted to an average of ilang years? 32 years. Okay. With the standard, the computation of their ages resulted to an average. Anong average niya? 32 years. With a standard deviation of 10. Okay. So, saan galing to? The computation of their ages. Saan galing yung computation? Yung computation ang galing saan? Nandito galing, di ba? So, kung dito siya galing sa sample, yung 10 years ay standard deviation ng ano? Ng sample. So, yung standard deviation ni population is unknown. Wala. So, paano yan? Ay, check pala. So, ang standard deviation ni population, unknown, teacher. Anong gagamitin ko? Balik tayo sa table. Less than 30 siya. Unknown to. Anong gagamitin ko? T-test. Yan. Ang galing ni Alexis Okay, next tayo. Last na. Okay lang ba? Last na. Based on the report of the student, kasi may, sabi nung isang, medyo nalito daw siya. Pero, pag unknown si sigma, t-test naman talaga. Pero, by central limit theorem, ayan, may nagtanong kasi, sa amin, pag sigma is unknown, t-test agad kahit ano pang sample size. Kaya lang, di ba sabi sa central limit theorem, kung sufficiently large naman, greater than or equal to, kung sufficiently large naman, yan, use z-test by replacing population standard deviation by sample standard deviation. Yun, by central limit theorem, no? Pwede naman kayong magtanong kay teacher about it. Okay lang yan. Okay, ngayon. Based on the report of the school nurse, the average height of grade 11 student has increased. 5 years ago, the average height of grade 11 students was 170 centimeter with a standard deviation of 38. Ito ay 5 years ago, yung standard deviation ay 38. Ibig sabihin, known or unknown. Kung ang standard deviation nyo ay 38 at ito ay nangyari 5 years ago, ang standard deviation, ito ang magiging standard deviation kasi yan yung initial claim. Okay. She took a random sample of 150. Okay. And derived the average height of 165. So, unknown siya, ilan yung sample? She took a random sample of 150. Known, tapos more than 30, kasi 150 siya. So, known to. Anong gagamitin ko? Ang gagamitin ko, teacher, ay z-test. Gets ba? Ayan. Correct. Z-test. Yan. para kung gusto nyong makuha yung reference na ginagamit nating material, ang reference na ginamit kong material para dito ay yung sa pivot. Even the exercises na binibigay ko, galing din ito sa pivot. Yan. Nung activity natin. Yan. Okay ba? So I hope naliwanagan ang lahat, no? If there's confusion about it or you can refer to the pivot region 4A na ano tawag dito? Na material. Wait, papakita ko sa inyo yung pivot ha. Just a minute. Okay. Ay, sige. Wait lang. Hindi ako makatayo. Yan. Kasi hindi naman ako pwedeng makatayo dyan. Pero I hope you understand. Klaro naman ba yung mga usapan natin? I hope na klaro ko sa inyo. Ayan. Yan. Hindi, may chance pa. Ngayon, kung ano naman, pwede nyo namang i-clarify yan. I-clarify nyo on the different materials that you have, kung sakali man. Kasi ako ang reference nga ako. Kasi pwede nyo gamitin yun, pwede nyo yung tingnan kung paano yun, no? Kung paano yun mangyayari. Kamusta naman yung iba? Nakakasunod naman? Yan, kasi sabi ni, okay, medyo may mga nalilito, no? So, medyo may confusion ng konti. Pero, kung titingnan nyo yung flow ng discussion naman natin from z-test, naalala nyo si z-test? Kailangan ang n is greater than or equal to 30, gagamitin natin si z-test, at kailangan gamitin din natin ang z-test kailan? Kapag known ang standard deviation. Teka lang titignan ko kung nandito siya sa akin. Yan. Anong week ba natin si z-test? Yan. Sige, ganito na lang. Re-reviewin natin siya next week para sa inyo, para makita nyo yung cohesive flow ng discussion natin. Remember, kapag ang sample size ay sufficiently large, yan. So, pwede natin yung gamitin. Pero, i-replace natin si standard deviation ni population by standard deviation of sample. Pero, yan. Okay. Pero kung merong mga confusion, yun na nga. Ang pwede kong ma-recommend sa inyo, hanapin nyo yung pivot region 4A na modules. Kasi nandun yung napaka-clear ng discussion nila, ng mga data, ng mga activities doon and all. Yan. I hope you learned something. I'm sorry, no? Kasi, syempre, medyo nakakapos tayo sa oras. So, today we discussed about, yung una nating diniscuss, how to formulate the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. At the same time, ngayon naman, nag-identify tayo ng appropriate test statistic. Yan. Siguro, para dun sa iba na medyo na-challenge pa on this topic, magbibigay pa tayo ng ibang proof at ibang example next meeting. Yan. Thank you so much for listening and I hope you understand everything. Yan. Everything that we discuss today. Yan. So, yan. Yes, thank you so much. Sana and you can always verify everything. Yun nga yung sinasabi ko, you can always verify everything that you've learned here. Pwede nyo siyang i-verify dun sa activity sheets natin on Region 4A. And if there's anything na ika-clarify, meron naman tayo laging every week na discussion for that. So I'll see you again next week. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. God bless everyone. Be a blessing to everyone, as always.
Sigurado ako na marami ka na namang natutuhan sa ating ETUlay tutorial session ngayong araw. Tandaan, ito ay hindi lamang para sa ating mga mag-aaral, kundi pati rin sa ating mga minamahal na guro at mga magulang na kaagapay natin para maituloy ang pagkatuto sa kabila ng nararanasang pandemya. Patuloy ding sumubaybay sa DepEd TV para sa mga araling ginawang video episodes. Mapapanood ito mula Lunes hanggang Sabado, alas 7 ng umaga hanggang alas 7 ng gabi sa inyong mga telebisyon. Abangan sa Lunes mula 1:00 ng tanghali ang iba pang aralin sa ating ETUlay free online tutorial session sa Science. I-like and subscribe at manatiling nakasubaybay sa ating ETUlay tutorial session sa DepEd Edtech Unit FB page at Educational Technology Unit channel sa YouTube at sa DepEd Tayo at DepEd Philippines social media accounts. Paalam!